Welcome to Lively Lewis Stories.
Buckle up, because you're about to join Levi and Ivy on an adventure.
All you need is your imagination, and off we
go! Lively Lewis Stories!
Hey there, awesome friends.
Guess what?
We're super thrilled to share some exciting news with you.
We've got our very own Lively Lewis merchandise.
Woohoo! Grab your parents and head over to livelylewisshop.com or simply click on the link below in our show notes.
Now, let's dive into today's story.
The waves crashed along the shore as Levi and Ivy ran up and down the beach. They were flying a kite and splashing through the water without a care in the world. The whole day was theirs, with wonderful adventures waiting just around the corner. As they hurried down the beach, their kite flew high overhead. Levi was so busy watching it glide and soar with the wind that he didn't notice that he was headed straight for a sandcastle. "Levi, stop!" Ivy called out just before Levi trampled all over the sandy creation. "You almost crushed that beautiful sandcastle. How do you think that would have made the person who built it feel?" Levi looked around and didn't see anyone. His kite fluttered into the sand, landing in a heap on the dunes. "There's no one around," replied Levi. "I'm sure the person who made it is long gone, so now it's time to play dinosaurs and stomped everything in my path. Stomp, stomp, stomp." "Levi, that's not very nice," said Ivy as she watched her brother stomp all around the sandcastle. "Who's Levi? I'm a Stomposaurus, and this sandcastle looks like the perfect thing for me to stomp," exclaimed Levi in his best growly dino voice. As Levi roared like a ferocious dino, he lifted his foot and slammed down on the sandcastle. He continued to stomp all over it until the sandcastle was back to being just part of the sandy shore again. "Levi, that was not the right choice to make," scolded Ivy. "How do you know the person who made it isn't going to come back to play with it? And even if no one was coming back, it was pretty and could have made someone smile today." "I just wanted to stomp it because it seemed like it would be fun," said Levi. "I'm sorry, I won't do it again. Let's grab the kite and head back to Mom and Dad for lunch." Levi and Ivy ran up to the dunes, winding up the long kite string as they went. When they reached their kite, they picked it up and quickly noticed something shining through the sand below. It glistened and sparkled as it caught the sun's rays. "What is that?" asked Ivy as Levi reached down to pick it up. As he pulled it out of the sand, it kind of looked like a rock, but they had never seen a rock like this before. "Maybe it's a pirate's treasure or a meteorite that fell from space," thought Levi. "It's so shiny I can see myself in it," said Ivy, peering over Levi's shoulder at the shiny object. "Whatever it is, I think we should keep it." Levi agreed, and they ran off down the beach, holding the mysterious object. They were so excited by what they had found that they didn't notice a little girl walking down the beach behind them. Slowly at first, and then she began to run. She stopped at the spot where the sandcastle used to be and fell to the sand. The seashell she was holding fell and scattered all around her. "My sandcastle," whispered to herself. "It's ruined." She began to cry as Levi and Ivy continued their journey back down the beach, completely unaware of what was going on. They got back to their beach blanket as their mom was getting sandwiches out for lunch. They stared at the mirror-like finish on the object they found and were somewhat mesmerized by it. They couldn't look away. It was as if the object had a message for them, some piece of wisdom to impart, but what? That's when Levi turned it over, and there on the bottom he saw a note etched into its shiny surface. Levi read it out loud. "I am the mirror rock. My job is quite clear. When I am needed is when I appear. A look to the future to see a new day, how actions affect others in so many ways. Something quite small to you in your eyes, to another can grow to a much bigger size. Our actions are powerful no matter how small. We must respect others, yes, one and all. Look in my mirror and there you will see how choices you make, while not always easy, are the right ones and worth it. So remember this clue. Think always of others, not always just you." Levi and Ivy both looked at each other and didn't know what to say. Then Levi slowly turned the mirror rock over and watched as the mirror finish began to swirl and glow. Suddenly, a picture appeared. It was a little girl kneeling by the crushed sandcastle. "Oh no!" exclaimed Levi. "You were right, Ivy. Someone was coming back to play with the sandcastle and I ruined it. I feel terrible." "She's crying, Levi. We have to go back and help her rebuild it," said Ivy. Levi agreed. They told their mom they weren't hungry just yet, and off they ran down the beach holding the mirror rock. When they reached the spot where Levi had stomped on the sandcastle, they looked all around, but they didn't see the little girl anywhere. "Oh no, what if I ruined her whole beach day?" said Levi. "I bet it's not that bad," said Ivy reassuringly. "I'm sure she was just disappointed, but we'll wait here for her and help her rebuild it." Levi felt a bit better, but just then the mirror rock started to glow again. "It's another picture!" Levi called out, holding the rock so he and Ivy could both see it. It was the same little girl again, but this time she was standing by a tall man wearing a paper party hat. A big banner behind him said, "Happy birthday, Daddy," with balloons and colorful streamers all over. But the little girl still looked sad. The picture faded and another one appeared. The little girl was now standing with her dad looking at the pile of sand where her sandcastle had been. It was clear that she had made it as a birthday present for him. Levi slumped to the sand, dropping the mirror rock at his side, and began to cry. "I should have just left the sandcastle alone," he said through his tears. "The little bit of fun I had stomping on it wasn't worth it at all. It was just a sandcastle to me, but to that little girl, it was a gift for her dad, and she had worked really hard to create it. I definitely didn't make the right choice. I should have listened to you, Ivy." Ivy went over to Levi and to tell him it would be okay, and as she did that, they heard a little footsteps on the sand. They turned around and found themselves face to face with the little girl from the pictures. "It's you!" shouted Levi. The little girl looked confused by his excitement and then said, "My name is Delaney, and I heard what you said. You were the ones who wrecked my sandcastle." "I'm so sorry," said Levi, happy that he had the opportunity to tell the little girl how he felt and hopefully fix the situation. "I would love to help you rebuild the castle. Just tell me how I can help." "Thank you for apologizing," said Delaney, "but you can't help me rebuild it. It's something I have to do on my own. It's a tradition, something my dad and I do every year for each other." Delaney went on to tell Levi and Ivy how she and her family always celebrate their birthdays at the beach house, which was just over the dunes. Her dad would always get up early, head down to the beach, and make her a huge sandcastle on her birthday, and on his birthday, she would do the same. "This was the best sandcastle I had ever made," said Delaney, "and I was so proud to show him. I was off getting some shells to decorate the castle walls when you stomped on it, so I know you didn't know how important it was to me, but maybe next time you won't be so quick to knock down something that someone else has worked hard on." Levi just listened, agreeing with everything that Delaney had said. "Is there anything at all I can do?" asked Levi. "Can I go grab some more shells for you or buckets of water to hold the sand together?" "Thank you for offering to help," said Delaney. "Since my dad is expecting to see his gift in just a little while, I guess some help collecting things wouldn't hurt." "Yes, you can go grab some shells for me. Thank you." Levi grabbed the mirror rock and a bucket that was laying nearby, and he and Ivy ran off down the beach in search of the best shells they could find. "Now remember to check that there are no little creatures living in the shells before you grab them," Levi called out to Ivy. But Ivy just wanted to get the biggest and best shells she could and wasn't thinking of the little critters living inside of them. She found the most spectacular, colorful shell in a small tide pool and tossed it into the bucket. As she did so, the mirror rock, which Levi had placed in the bucket as they searched, began to glow. Levi and Ivy ran over to see what picture it had to show them now. As they looked, they saw the shell that Ivy had just placed into the bucket. It was far from the water where she had picked it up, and peeking out from the opening in the bottom was a snail. It needed the water and looked tired and hot, but since it was so far away, it had just waited for the tide to come in and cool it down. "Oh no," said Ivy, never wanting to hurt anyone or anything. "I was so focused on getting Delaney the best shells that I didn't even think of the little creatures that call them home." She quickly picked up the snail shell and gently placed it back in the tide pool where she had found it. The little snail peeked its head out of its shell, looking thankful and happy. "Thank you, Mirror Rock," whispered Ivy as she gathered a few more empty shells and hurried back to Delaney with Levi by her side. Delaney was already hard at work rebuilding the sandcastle, and it was coming out even better than before. Levi and Ivy ran buckets of water back and forth for their new friend and gathered driftwood sticks to make the castle fence and seaweed to form the castle garden. "This looks wonderful," said Delaney. "Thank you for running around to get all these supplies for me. It really saved me a lot of time, and now my dad will get his birthday sandcastle. I never would have been able to rebuild it without your help." "I think it needs just one more thing," said Levi, reaching into the shell bucket and grabbing the mirror rock. It glistened and sparkled even brighter than before as Levi handed it to Delaney. "I think this would look great sitting right at the castle's front gate," suggested Levi. "Maybe it could be a magical wishing stone. It certainly has done some magic for us today." Levi looked at Ivy and smiled. Delaney loved the shiny rock, having never seen anything like it before. "I have to run and get my dad," said Delaney. "Thank you again for making this a truly unforgettable birthday surprise. Maybe we can build a sandcastle together someday." "We'd like that," said Levi as he and Ivy waved goodbye to Delaney as she ran back over to the dunes to get her dad. Levi and Ivy walked back down to the beach knowing that the mirror rock had done just what it was supposed to do, and it was now going to find the next person who needed it. That day, Levi and Ivy learned that the right choice isn't always the easy one to make, but it's always worth it in the end. Did you learn a lesson from this story?
If so, what was it?
And parents, do your kids have a story idea?
Leave a comment on our Apple Podcast review page with 5 stars, the idea, and your kid's name for a chance to join Levi and Ivy on their next adventure. Until next time.
Thanks for listening. Come back for more.